Good afternoon. This afternoon we're here at the ACFW conference, Indianapolis, and we're here with Karen Barnett. She has a wonderful new book coming out, and it is called Mistaken. Do you want to hold that up so we can all see? There we go. It's a gorgeous cover, great book. I was reading it and I loved what I read. It was absolutely excellent. It is in the 1920s,
yes,
and it's about rum running. It's set in an area that I dearly love, which is over by Crescent Lake in Washington State. And we discovered that we both are from Washington,
Yes,
which
we
is
are.
very, very exciting. Now, first of all, Karen, as a new author, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I grew up in Washington State. I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, and I now live in Oregon, and I love the whole Northwest area, and I love to, well, obviously I love to write. I have a husband at home and 2 kids, and I'm a mom.
That's a lot.
That's
right
a lot.
there. That's a
Yeah.
lot on the platter.
It
That
is.
that is really neat. Now, how did you happen to go from Washington to Portland?
Well, actually, I
Or
went
to Oregon?
To Oregon, yes. I went to college in Indiana. I did 4 years at Valparaiso.
So you've been here
I have been
in
here
Indiana.
before, yes.
Okay.
I went to Valparaiso University, which is a Christian university in Northwest Indiana. And then I went to graduate school at Oregon State University. Go Beavers. And that's where I met my husband. We were both in graduate school there together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what was your major?
It was geography.
And his major?
Also geography.
Okay.
Yeah, it's convenient.
Now, how did you get started as a writer?
Well,
Geography to writing. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, it's a strange jump. I've always been the kind of person that likes doing a lot of different things, and I got into geography just because I was fascinated with the world and earth science and how things work. And I started writing as a young child. I filled journals and notebooks and things with little half stories, a lot of horse mysteries and that kind of thing when I was little, and never finished anything. And then went to work. Worked in the Park Service for a number of years, and then actually when we had kids, I decided it would be a good time to stay at home and find something I could do from home. So I thought I'd write children's books because that looked easy, and it wasn't easy. There weren't enough words. So got into writing fiction for adults, and I'm really enjoying it.
Now, how did you happen to write about the 1920s? That's an intriguing era.
It is.
And a dark era.
Yes, very much so. It actually was inspired by a family story, and what happened is my dad, we were on vacation, and I was talking with my dad, and he was telling some stories from his childhood, and he mentioned this one story that his dad had told about in Prohibition era in the 1920s. He had lived in Port Angeles, and he used to row across the Straits of Juan de Fuca to Victoria, Canada, and they would buy whiskey and bring it back and sell it to friends that worked at the paper mill. And that's kind of where the story got started, as I imagined what that would be like actually rowing across the Strait of Juan de Fuca. That's 20 miles. It's quite a distance. And to do that in the dark,
yes,
I would be terrified. So,
wow, that's really interesting. Now, how did he get into it, and how did he get out of it?
Well, I don't know how he got into it, but I know on his last trip, they were rowing back, and they always had a friend on the shore with an old car that would be flashing the headlights to show them where to land.
Oh, that's why you had the headlights.
Exactly. That was important in the story because they had to know where
so
they were in the dark.
This really happened.
The story's loosely inspired by it. But,
it's still...
But that scene, definitely.
Wow. Yeah. Now, is there any other parts of the book that are closely related to your life, or what you have experienced or heard about?
Not so much. I just... a little bit more about what he had done. With that last trip back, they came back and they actually had G-men waiting for them on the beach. And so they had to jump out of the boat and swim to safety. And he always blamed my grandmother, his wife, for possibly turning them in. And, of course, she would never say one way or the other, whether she had or
so
not.
to this day you don't know?
No, it's a long-time family mystery. And
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I always wondered why, if she had turned him in, which we never know, if she had, what would lead someone to do that, to turn in someone they loved. And that's what turned into Lori's story of, how she would have gotten involved in her brother's rum running, and what would lead her to that choice, how she would make that choice, how she would deal with the fact that someone she loved was doing something that she believed was very wrong.
Now, you have a character. Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you, who's your favorite character in the book?
I particularly like Daniel.
Well, he is a good guy.
He is a good guy, but he also has a past. And when I started writing romance, I didn't go into it very willingly. I was thinking, I don't want to write a romance that is kind of what our culture teaches us, which is happily ever afters, and you meet the perfect guy and everything's going to be wonderful. And I wanted it to be very real people with real problems, that they would have to work through these problems in order to ever have a hope of being together. And even after that fact, that there's this question of how will things work out in the end? And I didn't want it to be real perfect. I wanted them to be very real people with flaws.
Now, you had the father in the story, Lori's father.
Yes.
Was a drunk, and I found that to be a very interesting depiction of him, because and it obviously gives the history of her background. How did you happen to decide to write that?
I just thought that would give her character the motivation. She needed to be very against alcohol in order to have this encounter with her brother. And I just needed to understand why it was so important to her, because during Prohibition, most people looked the other way, and they either thought it was funny or, why wouldn't you do this? That it was very acceptable to break this law, and I needed her to think it was not acceptable. And so I needed her to have a good reason.
To segue into your future, which I'm very, very excited about, can you please tell us about your brand new series coming out after Mistaken, coming out in May?
Yes, I have a new series coming out.
It'll be the name of the series?
The series will be called the Golden Gate Chronicles. Okay. I was going to call it the San Francisco Chronicle until I remembered there was a newspaper by that name. So it's the Golden Gate Chronicles. And the first one is called Out of the Ruins, and it takes place in 1906 during the San Francisco earthquake and fire. So there was a lot going on at that time, and I thought that was great grounds for a story.
That's also my favorite place, favorite era. It's really great. Now, did you go down to San Francisco to study it?
I did. I have a friend that lives down there in the area. She lives in Napa, and we walked the streets. Oh, I know, isn't that amazing? A lovely place to live.
Yes, it is.
We walked the streets, we rode the cable cars. Of course, it's all natural to her, but I was just so excited to see all these places, and I took a lot of historical. A lot of they have wonderful walking tours organized. I think it's through the public library that are free, and you can take tours about architecture and Chinatown and earthquake and just all kinds of historical tours. It's fascinating.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I did like 5 of them in 2 days.
So you really you immersed yourself into it. Now,
I love research.
Are the series all 1906, or do they progress through
1906 and possibly early into 1907? I haven't written the third one yet. I'm writing the second one as we speak.
Oh, okay.
So the first one is ready and
ready to go.
Going to printer soon. So yeah.
Now, do you have a critique partner?
I have a critique group, and we meet once a week, and there are 5 of us all really pushing each other, and I'm really excited about what's ahead for all 5 of us.
Now, are all 5 of you at this conference?
No, just one other is here.
Well, even that.
Everyone is right on the cusp. I'm the first one to actually have a book published, but I think 4 of us are agented. That's in negotiation at the moment, and so that'll happen soon.
That is great.
Another that is not is on the edge of a contract with a publisher, so I think it's
That's fun.
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
fun. There's actually
fun to celebrate together.
That's an interesting thing, because one of the things about ACFW is it's a tremendously collaborative experience. And I can tell you there are several groups, critique writing groups, that have, including Mary Connelly's group, had almost all of them became published,
Yes.
well published now.
Yes.
And you know Mary Connelly's
I love
history.
her work. Yes.
Oh, she's
Love
so
her
fun.
work.
She is so fun. Now, who's the person who most influenced you with your writing?
Ooh, well, my favorite Christian author would have to be Francine Rivers. I love her work. I'd have to say, on a more personal level, Robin Gunn. I met her at a women's event and actually talked to her about writing afterwards. She cornered her and said, I want to write a book, and I've got this idea about the San Francisco earthquake, and just spit all this story out to her, and she was so kind, and she looked at me and said, you know what, that sounds like a faith story. Have you thought about writing that as Christian fiction? And I said, oh, I love Christian fiction. And so I was already reading Christian fiction, but for some reason it hadn't clicked in my mind that that's what I should be writing. So I kind of credit her with pushing me towards CBA writing.
She's an amazing lady.
She's so wonderful.
She
so
really
caring
is.
And
oh, by the way, she was the one that made sure that we were told about the 1906
That's right.
series. I love it. She's just wonderful. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what do you see another project beyond the 3-book series that you're going to be doing?
Yes, I would like to do some stories based around the national parks. I know. Isn't that fun? I worked as a national park ranger for 2 years at Mount Rainier National Park.
Oh, by the way, we both were at the same park at the same, different times, but the same
maybe.
park, Sunrise State Park.
Yeah. And then I worked at Silver Falls State Park for 2 years down in Oregon, and a beautiful park if you ever get a chance to visit it. And I love just getting out into the wilderness, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to take a character maybe back in the 20s? I haven't fleshed it out real well, but take her out into the wilderness and see how she survives. Maybe a flopper or something. That's a ways off yet, but I've got a bit of work before I can get into that. But I'd love to do some stories with the national parks.
That would be a great thing to do, especially where you have the inside of the national parks. Now, it's almost like, what do you do to get away from it all? Because you do have kids, and
yeah.
So how do you get away from it all?
Well, I love doing anything that's outside. We live in Western Oregon. I love to go to the ocean. We're members of the Oregon Coast Aquarium, so we go there frequently. I love to hike, and I really have fun subjecting my children to boring history museums. They're kind of at that age where doing things with mom isn't as fun as it used to be. But just taking them through and say, look at this. This is so neat. It's a X-ray manual from 1906. And they're like...
So you're really passionate about your history.
Love history.
Now, how much history was in this book, The Mistaken?
Quite a bit. I actually went up to the Historical Society in Port Angeles, which is actually, I think, Clallam County Historical Society, and they were able to open up old newspapers for me from the 20s, and we actually read some stories. There were a few about rum running. There were more about people having illegal stills and things like that, or just finding stashes of alcohol. And
wow.
Yeah, and so I found some neat things there.
Now, what would you like your readers to take from Mistaken? What message would you like your readers?
I think one thing that Lori learned was that, and I don't want to give away the ending in this, but Lori learned that it's more important to focus on her faith and to focus on God and what God wanted for her, and that there isn't this one hero that so many young women grow up thinking, I need to find this one guy. I remember seeing a poster when I was in college that said, true love is not, and I don't know who said this originally, but true love is not two people facing each other, it's two people facing the same direction. And
wow.
So Lori needed to learn that finding this one man of honor wasn't necessarily going to be her hero, that it might be God as well. So she had to learn to trust him and love him before loving someone else.
Thank you so much for taking this time out to interview with us.
Oh,
I think
thank
it has
you.
been wonderful. I look
enjoyed it.
forward to watching your career grow, and it looks like it's growing exponentially. You've certainly met the right people. You're writing the right information, and I can hardly wait to see the 1906 series.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking
And
forward
beyond. I'm really
beyond.
looking forward to reading about places I used to visit. So thank you.